Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Board Game Specialist. We are on episode 76, and I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And this week we are talking about our FallCon experience. We are just back, freshly back from FallCon 36, because it was just yesterday. The last day was yesterday. So FallCon was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, Carla, you couldn't come until Saturday.
Right.
So you're a little bit more refreshed than the rest of us.
Yes. Saturday I was all pretty spry and I could have stayed and played all night that night.
Yeah.
Everyone else was tired, but yeah.
So on Sunday we're we're fading. We're fading deeply. We're like, oh my God. And then Carla's like, oh, let's keep going. Like, oh my God.
I did sleep 9 hours last night though, which is very rare for me. I'm usually like a 5-6 hour sleeper. So I woke up and I'm like, what? So I was tired by the end of yesterday, but.
Yeah, no, but it was great. It was great. So FallCon is held in Calgary. It was at the TELUS Convention Center. So the location actually is quite beautiful, the setup. And then we were in a different ballroom this year. And they had like all these huge windows along the side that they could put like the screens down. But it was so neat to see like all the old buildings in downtown Calgary. So the setup was amazing. I got to FallCon on Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning because I'm part of the FallCon group, so to help set up. And like an idiot, I'm wearing like these pretty flip-flop shoes. So my feet were so comfortable the rest of the weekend. Just because of all the running back and forth with the box. So I mainly helped unpacking all the boxes and setting up the games in the FallCon library. And there was a lot of games. And then the way that the library got kind of organized is we had them by player count. So 2 players in one area, like 4 players up, 5 players up, and then 6 that could play up to 6 players and more. And then within those, alphabetical. So it would be a little bit easier for people to find. And then they had like the oversized box in one shelf as well, like because we had like some of them are huge, so all the oversized stuff was on one shelf as well. It was neat. It was so much fun. So I guess we'll just talk about our experience right away, because we're not going to be having our like what did you play lately segment, because that's what we're going to be talking about the whole time. Now with FallCon, like there is a few things going on. So there's hosted games where they have games kind of scheduled to be taught and for you to play. So I did do 2 of those. Did you end up doing any hosted game, Carla?
No, I didn't. The ones I wanted to have played would have been on Friday. So
I see. Okay, yeah.
That's okay. I just free-falled it this time.
Well, that's good too, right? Because they also have the open gaming area, which is a huge... You know what? And that was one thing that they did I thought was really cool, is even if every ticket we had been sold for FallCon, they still had the board game area set up at 25% above that. So even if everything had been sold, there'd be like lots of elbow room because we had set up tables for 25% more than capacity.
Yeah, and it still looked pretty full. Like it was. Yeah, it was like not too full at all, but it was good. It was very good.
Yeah. Because last year there was a few times people would come out. It was difficult to find a table to play. So this year this was not an issue at all. And then there's, so there's vendors. So there's a few booths with vendors that was there. There's the FallCon library that's available for everybody to play. They had the prototype section. So a lot of our friends had prototype games that they had the chance to showcase there. Actually, I ended up talking with a gentleman there that had his game in a prototype. And it was a card game, kind of like Magic the Gathering style, but all about hockey and hockey players. And he says everything you can do in hockey, you can do in this card game. So you can get penalties, you can do penalty shots, and all of these things. Like I was like, oh my God, it's like Canadian Magic the Gathering. So I didn't get a chance to play it, unfortunately, but it did sound really interesting. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like that would appeal to a whole new group of
Yeah.
people. And then the person I was sitting at the table was saying, he's like, what would be really neat is if that game could somehow incorporate like trading cards, like the hockey trading
Yeah,
cards.
that's what I
Because a
mean.
lot of
That could
people,
be like big. And I mean,
yeah.
I have family members that are absolutely obsessed with hockey and sports. My brother is a sports addict.
Yeah.
He watches it all day long. Well, not all day long, but as much as he can, he follows it, and it's like an addiction, like board gaming. So
what?
that
We
could
don't know
be
about that.
Yeah, that could be. You could draw some new crowds in for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of neat to see all the different new prototype games because, like, you get to see these games before they become published, right? So you can have like a bit of an impact on their development. They also had a Dungeons and Dragons table where this one guy was kind of taking people and teaching them Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, really?
And it was funny because I walked by and he was good. Like, he was right into it, and he was in the table, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? Because he's got his arms over the table, and he was like right into it. I'm like, oh, that's what. So it sounded like, and people like that table was full all the time. So it seemed like people were really enjoying it. They also had a miniature painting table. Yeah, so they had this little section where, and it was neat. Like, they had tables kind of set up in the U, and the people hosting that were like inside that U, and people could go and sit all around. And then there was like the paint, and then there was a bunch of little miniatures, and you could set yourself up with a miniature and then learn how to paint them. So I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
And then
a couple of our friends did that one. The paint.
Yeah.
Ashley and Cherry did that.
Nice.
Ashley's a painter. She knows how to do it, but Cherry did it for the first time. She liked it. That's neat.
That's cute. Such a neat little kind of side step to board gaming that was included at FallCon. And then, of course, my personal favorite is the auction. There was a lot of games. So like they did it in 3 segments, just because of the amount of game that they had. And I was lucky because most of the games I wanted to try to bid on was all in the first segment. Because my brother joined me on Saturday, but he wasn't interested in the auction. He's like, what? You're going to be at the auction? And I was like, well, let me do the first half. And then, so I left halfway through to go play with him. So that was fine, but which, saved me money. So it was good. But I still ended up getting 8 games at the auction. Should we talk about some of the games we got? Right. Yeah. Well, so 8 games at the auctions plus 5 games that I purchased there. Plus there was like 3 or 4 games that I end up gifted to me as well. Right. So I think my final tally was 17?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought 3 at the auction.
So which one did you get?
So I got 2 older Steffenfeld games. I got Forum, Trajanum, and Notre Dame.
Nice.
And those 2, one is the first one was a 2018 game, and Notre Dame is 2007 or 2007. That's almost 20 years old. But I've heard good things about Notre Dame a lot. Yeah. Forum, Trajanum, there's some people who hate it and some people who love it. Feld fans like them all.
Of course they love
I am a Feld fan.
So you should be fine.
Yeah, and they were $20. I think 25 for one of them. So I'm just going to give them a try.
Oh, that's nice.
I think Notre Dame is getting reprinted, but I thought, well, I can try it for 20.
And what's really cool with Notre Dame is the board, because if you're playing 2 players, you set the board in a certain way, and I don't know if it plays 2 players, it might be 3, and you just kind of have this cardboard piece that goes in the middle, and then you put the board up against it, and then the board is built one way. Then if you're playing 4 players, you put a different cardboard piece in the middle, and then all those pieces, you had another one, but then they're shifted a different way, so it forms the board in a different shape. Just the setup of the board I thought was so cool. And then as well, the action selection was really interesting, because I can't remember if you had to pick the next player's action, or it kind of had something where the actions you picked affected the other player's action, or the cards got passed along of what you ended up having to do next. So it was really, really interesting. I've only played my copy once at Gobfest, I want to say in 2018. So it's been a long time. I need to get it played again. But it's one of those European beige games, so you should love it.
Yeah, I'll love it. And it does play 2 to 5. I just looked it up. So
Yeah, so it's neat because like the board sets up. It's kind of like the components of the board have like different angles, and then the angle that kind of goes to the middles changes depending on the player count, and it just totally changes the shape of the board. It's cool. It was cleverly designed for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So those two I got. And then I got one that I've had on my list, but I've been waiting to buy used. And that was Expedition to Newdale. And that's a 2019 game from Alexander Pfister. Now, this is the board game version of Oh My Goods.
Oh, no, dude, that's super cool.
Yeah. So I have it set up on my table. I'm going to play it after.
Oh, is that the one you have set up on your table? That's the one.
And it's supposed to be really good solo because you play it the same way you do with people, only you just do it yourself. And I think because you go, it's like an 8 campaign board game where you play through 8 games, but then after you can play each of them as much times as you want, which is kind of neat. Nice. So it has different boards and things. So it like changes up a bit. There's no envelopes and things like that, but there's different boards and different cards and characters that you'll introduce in there.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, and I watched a playthrough last night, and it actually looks right up my alley. And if you like Oh My Goods, you're gonna like it. So we'll have to play it sometime. But so that one, so it continues on from his so Oh My Goods, and then what was it like?
I forget.
Something. There's 2 or 3 little expansions that were just kind of they were campaigns that would carry on. Now this is the one after those, which you don't have to have played those other ones, but it's just the mechanics are similar but a little bit different. And the difference in this one is instead of drawing those weather cards kind of thing, you know how you draw them and then once you get enough you stop, you're drawing out workers out of a bag. And so you have a event card that you flip and you have certain colored workers, and then you will draw out of this bag 4 more workers, maybe sometimes more depending on the event, and you'll put those colored workers out. So, but before you do that, you have to place your workers, you start with 2 on your cards saying like, I'm going to be a sloppy worker, a good worker. And so it's like that push your luck. I think I'm going to pull out another yellow worker because I need another yellow one for this to work. So that's the push your luck part. But the nice thing is you can mitigate it. You can give up cards for another worker. So it's not like you just don't get to do that. So it kind of improved the mechanics of Oh My Goods. So yeah, it looks really neat. I'm excited to play that.
That is
those are the 3 that I bought. I was happy. I stuck at 3. I didn't even know that Expedition or Forum Trajanum were there when I looked at the list. The only one I seen was Notre Dame, and there was another one I was bidding on. Oh, Mombasa. So that was funny because I was bidding on Mombasa, and I'm like, nope, the highest I'm going to go, I can't even remember now, was like 30 or something. And all of a sudden it went, okay, 31. Who wants it for 31 or whatever? And I was about to put it in my hand, and all of a sudden Cherry right behind me put it up, and I was like, yeah, she got it. So it's like,
oh, that's great. Yeah. Because you didn't even have access then, right?
Yeah.
Actually, we should talk a bit about how it works at the auction, because we each have the baton. Now, the baton is like a paint stick, for stirring paint, with a piece of pool noodle attached to it. And you have this baton. So when a game comes up that you want to bid on, you just hold on your baton straight up in the air. So you'd have like 15 batons up in the air. Yeah. And then the auctioneer will start going through $5, $10, $15. And as long as you're okay with the price, you keep your baton straight up in the air as high as you can. And then it'll be like when it comes down to like only a few people, then they go up by $1. So like 16, 17, 18, until there's just one baton that's like, hey, sold for 18.
Or if they both drop.
Yeah, if everything
he'll go
drops,
back to that one number. First one to 21 or whatever, yeah.
Exactly. It's honestly, it's really well managed. And then it's cash only, so then it's like, okay, sold for 18, and then they have runners, so volunteers that runs the game over, and they have a sticker on there, the price is on it, so they go and they bring the game over to you, and then they use the game as a table, so you put your money on the game, they put your change on there, you grab your change, they grab your money, and then you keep the game, and then they keep a piece of the sticker to keep track of
Yeah. It's very well organized and
it's
well run.
so well organized.
What another nice thing is they alternate the auctioneers, which I have ran an auction before at a smaller convention. But your voice and your energy, it's a lot of work. So they would have someone up there for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, switch them out, put 2 more people up.
Because they had 3 sets. Yeah, and it was neat because you'd have the person auctioneering the game, and then the second auctioneer is holding the next game that's going to be coming up next. So you got to kind of, okay, this is coming up next. I want that one. So it's very well organized. It's a great event. But anyway, so that's great. I ended up buying 8 games. And they're all on my table, actually. I'm going to be doing a kind of FallCon haul unboxing video today. So if you want to see all the games I got, you can go on my YouTube channel and see that. And that's Mel's Board Game Room. Now, one of the ones that I really wanted that I won in the auction was Nations, the board game.
Yeah, you were talking about that after playing the dice game, right?
Yeah, well, because I played the dice game just a couple weeks ago, and it was so good. And actually, I ended up playing it again at FallCon.
Yeah, with your brother, right?
With my brother. So me and my brother ended up playing it, and then he really enjoyed it as well. And I had watched a tutorial on Nations, the board game. And because, Nations, the dice game is a quick game. Mm-hmm. Civilization theme, you're kind of collecting these tiles and which would give you access to more dice, and you're trying to do these things. So the board game still has the tiles that you're collecting, civilization theme. There's no map per se, so it's a little bit different on that side, but it looks so good. So a bit more of a complex board game experience. Yeah, exactly. A little bit longer, but it looks so good. So I did end up winning the bid for Nations, the board game, which I was really excited about.
Do you have Through the Ages?
Yeah.
Okay, so people I hear it's compare similar. Those, and that usually there's lovers of one and haters of another. So
I have a lot of civilization games. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm interested to see which one you prefer.
But yeah, I know. So I've played because I own Ages. What is it now? Yeah, Through the Ages. Yeah. I've played Through the Ages, a new store of Civilization.
Yeah,
but I own the original version.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I haven't played my own version. Like Civilization, I have a thing for them. I love them. I buy them. I have a lot of them. I don't get to play them all that often. It's not everybody who wants to do hey, want to do a big Civilization game? Yeah, you bet. Count me in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, the other 2 games I'm going to talk about, I didn't actually get at the auctions. They were board games I picked up at the FallCon weekend. Those were games that I had arranged to purchase from friends, and it ended up picking up then. The first one is Tzolkin, the Mayan Calendar.
Oh, Tzolkin,
this is my first T-series game. I've never played any of them. So this is my first one.
That's the first one. That is the first one. So
perfect. So I started with number 1. So that's great. And this is one that has a bunch of dials on the board, and I think it's like a worker placement, but the dials will pivot, which kind of changes the position of everything. So it looks really cool.
Yeah.
What's cool as well is a lot of people have been custom painting their board, the dials, because they're very intricate, but they're all just a plain color. So a bunch of people have been kind of painting this. Now, I bought my copy secondhand.
Was it painted?
It's beautiful.
Ooh,
so it's very monochromatic, which is fine with me. So it's, but then they've got copper kind of, they've just did a copper over the designs.
Oh, yeah.
So it really kind of shines through with I think it's beautiful. It's still very simple looking, but just that copper accent to it, looks amazing. And I bought it from our friend Greg because he bought a copy that was even painted more intricate with all these colors, and I was like, you keep all your fancy colors, I'll keep my beautiful copper here now. So I'm super excited for this one because I've never played any game from that series. You hear so much about them.
Well, I know that was one of my resolutions, right? And I'm halfway through now. I've played all of mine. We're working on Cherry's tea games, and then there's one that we don't have, which is Terracotta Army, but we're working through them, so halfway there.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because last time we checked on you, you only had done one.
I think I played just the one. Yeah. No.
Now, one of the games that wasn't one I was going to talk about, so I'll just bring it up real quick because I'm doing the alphabet challenge, where you play a game that starts with the letter of the alphabet for every letter of the alphabet, and there's 2 letters I have left to do, Y and X. So I bought
Kayla. Hey, our friend Kayla bought an X game. She's like, I only bought it because I have to play that X game. I can't even remember what it was called.
I did the same thing. I bought Yedo because I needed a Y.
Oh, but that's supposed to be really good. Did you get that?
Well, I bought it from Greg.
Oh,
because
cool.
it was on my list of games I wanted to bid on in the auction, and he ended up selling me his copy for $15. So I'm like,
15?
Done and done. Yeah. Oh, I jumped
the
on
big
that.
box.
I don't think it's the big fancy one. It's the older version.
Okay. I saw that.
So
for
it's
sale in the auction.
it's not the big fancy one. Yeah. So I was gonna bid on the one in the auction, but then I bought this copy, so I'm super excited. Yeah, super excited about that one. Now the other game I got this weekend was another one for my alphabet challenge, which was the letter X. So I got XCOM. Now a friend of mine had posted it that they were selling his game XCOM, and I had heard of it. I didn't know a whole lot about it. I was like, I don't know. Do I want to be buying that? Should I be saving myself for FallCon auction? And then I saw that it was by Eric Lang, so I'm like, done. I'm buying that one. And then I was talking with some people over at FallCon, and I was saying I had purchased XCOM. I was like, oh, it is so good. So it isn't like an app-driven game that I'm super excited to play, but because I'm a huge Eric Lang fan. I just like his games. So, yeah, XCOM. Awesome. That was
your X.
Got my X as well. Got my Y. Got my first T. So I did really good. I'm really excited about these games, and then I've got, like I said, a bunch of other games that's waiting that I'll be doing that unboxing later today here.
Awesome,
nice. So we're gonna talk. Well, we can't talk about all the games we played. We played a lot. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about 9 games that we played over FallCon. Now I haven't put mine in any order really. I'm just going to talk about some of the games that I was like interested, like that was interesting to play, and like I'm going to talk about the 2 hosted games that I did. But let's start with you then, Carla. So in no particular, or are yours in order?
Kind of, but I didn't really want to order them because they were all so fun. So they are kind of in an order, but perfect. I mean, very lightly.
Okay. So, well, we'll number them just to keep track of where we're at anyway. So what's your number 9?
So my number 9 is Gap by Rico Bestier and Frank Nowak. But again, I don't feel like it's like the worst game. It was the quickest, and that's a game I want to play again because it's like a quick little card game that you taught us. Yeah. And I think this came out of Gen Con, didn't it? Yeah. This game? Like, well, you can't find it yet.
No, it was released. I think it was released at Gen Con, but I got it way before. Yeah, my friend Adam at Roxley Game had a few games. Like, okay, I'm not going to keep these ones. If anybody wants them, I was like, oh, I'll take them. So I got it in shrink. I'm glad he never played it because he probably wouldn't have given it to me. But that was at the Game Con that we had in Canada here.
Oh, right.
So that was a few months earlier.
You got it earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I don't know.
It was so neat. It's just a kind of a push your luck. Well, kind of. Like, I mean, not overly, but it's interesting because there's 4 cards that are a face up on the table, and they all have different colors on them, and they range from 1 to 9, is it? Or 0 to 9, right?
0 to 9, yeah.
But then under their number, they have a number that is before or after them. So the 0 would have a 9 and a 1. The 2 would have a 1 and a 3. And what you do is you have a hand of 5 cards, and you're going to play one of them to the middle. Now, whatever you play, if I played an 8, I have to take all the 8s there. If there are no 8s, I have to take a 7 and a 9. And you can only get one of each of them. And so then you're going to bring them back and the cards you played, and you're going to put it face up in front of you in your tableau. And what you're trying to do is get a bunch of the same, different suits, but the same number of them as a higher number, because you're going to, so say I had 2 pink, 2 blue, and 2 green, and then I only had 1 purple. I would count those 3 different suits that I had 2 cards of. So that's 6 cards. And then I would minus my lowest grouping. So if it was a 1, then I would, so 6 minus 1, my score would be 5 at the end of the round. But if you happen to have 4 purple, and then you had 2 green, 2 pink, and what's another 2 blue. Well, then I've got 4 minus 6, so then I'm a -2. So it's really thinky, because you're like, okay, if I put this, oh yeah, I'm going to get all these cards, but wait, that doesn't help me, because that's making my less, like my lower numbers, more, whereas you want your higher numbers like evened out. But it's really cute and thinky, but you can probably describe it better than I can. I feel like it might be in this list. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, that's my number 9, Gap.
Nice. So my number 9, I'm going to talk about the first hosted game that I did on Friday. Last year at FallCon, I volunteered so much, I didn't end up playing as much. So this year, I volunteered before the event started and a couple of shifts throughout the weekend event. So I got to schedule a few games. And then I ended up playing Mosaic, A Story of Civilization. First of all, let me talk to you about the game board like itself. We played the deluxe Kickstarter edition version 1, which is massive. And we're playing on these convention table that's kind of flipped open, so they're not a bad sized table, but they're a little narrow for this type of game. Plus, we were 6 players, and each player has a player board. And luckily, we play with like a regular player board, because they got the deluxe player board that's like a 12 by 12. Like it's so big, and then so you never would have been able to fit. And then even then, originally they had the game set up to do one group on one table, one group on the next table, and we're like, this is not going to work. You guys need to move to another table. So we took up 2 tables just to spread out so we could be enough. And then I was like on the second table, but the board game was on the first table, so I had to go and look over and look at the cards every once in a while. And then everybody had like a container with a bunch of plastic pieces. The retail game would have cardboard pieces. This had all the plastic miniature pieces for your for your guys and the cities that you would be playing and all this stuff, because you have the map. Now, setup on this game is lengthy. You have all these tiles that needs to be put onto the board, and then you kind of place them all, and then afterwards you flip them all, and some of them gets removed. And so the setup is definitely something to consider, which is already a civilization game that plays a little longer, so plus a longer setup. If I end up buying this game, I think personally I would buy retail, just because I thought, like, with the miniatures, it's nice to have those 3D miniatures on the board when you're playing, but you kind of lose the artwork of the, you know what I mean? Like with the cardboard pieces, you lose the artwork that's on there a little bit. And just for size itself, I think I personally would prefer the retail version. But then otherwise, it's a really interesting civilization game. So we start by drafting cards that you're going to have your starting technologies, basically. Now, I'm looking at, this card gives me this ability. This card gives me this ability. And I totally didn't pay attention that each card also has symbol on the bottom. And you need these symbols. Like, okay, well, if you've acquired the, literacy symbol, then you can go and purchase this next technology. So having a wide variety of symbol helps you to have access to more cards when it comes time to getting more technologies and stuff. I had 4 symbols, or like 3 or 4 symbols, because I forgot about that. I didn't pay attention, and all the cards that I had collected, while everybody else had like 8 or 6, and I'm like, oh no. I didn't have an army symbol, and then like the one guy just got so gone with the army, and then we're like, okay, well, we need to try to stop him, but so we kept kind of trying to remove his army as much as, but he had the ability to add so much, so that like he ended up winning as well. He's a big Civilization fan as well, so he plays a lot of these style of games. I was playing the merchant, so I was able to collect money fairly easily. And I kind of concentrated on that with kind of getting more of different goods that I could create, so that every time I went to do the Terrafaction, I would get a lot of money. Because when it came time to pay for resources, if you didn't have the resources, you could spend $2 for one resource. So I was able to kind of acquire more population because I would use money for food, and that sort of stuff, while otherwise I would have been limited. And then you had, like, on your player board, you would keep track of where you were. And then this was a recess board, so it was really cool. It kind of kept things, but you would kind of keep track of the food that you could generate, or the rocks, or the stone you could generate, and that sort of stuff. And because that was one of the action you could do, is go and generate what you were able to do. But at the first, like, I was only making 2 foods, and like, I was always running out of population, because when you're building a city, you gotta send population to it. So I was always out of population, and you can't use money to make people. So,
Can't
but
you?
no, apparently you couldn't. So that was the one resource we couldn't use money for. So I kept trying to get, like, so I wasn't producing a lot of food, so I kept getting the money to buy the food to be able to get the population. And it was a really neat game. I mean, it is, I wouldn't say it's a really hard, complex game, but it's a game that you kind of have, if you want to do well at it, you got to pay attention to what everybody's doing, because you have these end goal objectives you're trying to kind of reach, that's going to give you points at the end as well. I was mid-range point-wise. That one guy was way, way ahead of us. But otherwise, it was a really neat game. Like I said, Table Hog. It's a bit of a longer play as well, but it was really enjoyable. I kind of enjoyed that one. So that was Mosaic, A Story of Civilization, published in 2022, created by Glenn Drover.
Nice. How long did it take to play?
I don't remember. I was set up to start.
4-hour game?
No, I don't think it was quite that long, but it was, I think we had slotted like a good 3 hours for it.
So 3 hours with the teach? That's not too bad.
I think so. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. For a Civilization game? Yeah, no.
And did you get to play with anyone you knew, or was it?
Yeah, well, I played with Greg. So me and Greg were next to each other. It went really well, because sometimes Greg can take a little longer, but it didn't seem to be an issue with this game. Plus, first day, and then at FallCon, I'm very aggressive with my friendship, I would say. And everybody has a name tag with their name, so as they'd walk by, I'm like, "Oh, Paul, hey, how you enjoying the FallCon?" And they'd be like, "Oh, she knows me," and then they would come and talk to me for a bit. So, and like, sometimes I did know them. Most of the time I did not.
I just saw your name tag. That's funny.
But yeah, so I kind of did that a little bit in between turns, and we were playing 6 players, so I mean, turns can be a little intricate as well. So there was times like, okay, I'm just gonna go grab water, so I could do that between my turns, and so. But yeah, no, it was great. It was a lot of fun.
That's pretty good for a Civ game. 3 hours with the teach. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was signed up for that game at Gobfest.
No, I want to say we were supposed to be done at 4. We didn't finish on time, and we ended up doing a force ending. Oh, so it would have been longer, because the game ends when the scoring cards came up, and they hadn't come up, and we were supposed to be done. They had slotted 3 hours. It would have gone probably an extra hour.
Oh, yes.
So we just ended up ending. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. That was why I was signed up in Gobfest, and then I pulled out, because I was like, I don't know if it'll be a 4-hour game, and I don't like to do 4-hour games at a convention, because then I'm like,
it eats up
my
a lot
legs
of time.
Freeze up and stand up, and I'm like, need to walk around for a long time. But yeah, it does look good. All right, my number 8 is Ark Nova, and played this. Made in 2021 by Matthew Wigg, and I played this just with a couple friends that we had just kind of planned the night before. We played it Sunday morning, and it's funny how it worked was, well, I'll explain the other part of the story when I talk about the other game, but we decided to play it in the morning, and I had just kind of got to know this fellow Ash from from Calgary, and he's a great guy. He does a lot of hosted games. He teaches a lot of hosted games. I think he taught your Ark Nova. But so we played this, but because he was teaching at noon, we kind of had to do like a speed game of Ark Nova. And we all knew it, except me and Bernie hadn't played it in a long time. So we kind of we're just doing moves that we were like, and we were both doing the same thing. Our friend Bernie, he's like, I was just doing stuff and then figuring it out later. I'm like, yeah, I was doing that too. But so we didn't end up with a positive score, which I usually do in the game, but when I remember and know all the rules. But we were playing really fast so that Ash could be done and we could reset it up for your game because you guys played right after us. But it was an interesting game because I was going for birds, and I had my goal card was to have. It was between two, and the one I chose was to be a naturalist, I think. So it was to have barely any of the buildings like leaving a lot of openings, right?
Yeah.
And so I was doing really good because I was barely building anything. I was kind of using more sponsors because it's quite a complicated game to explain, but you are building a zoo and there's all different kinds of card play, but the mechanism of how you play your cards is taken from Civilization: A New Dawn, where you have these 5 cards and you'll in your tableau and you'll take an action. So one will be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the level of action you can take. So if I have my build at 5, then I can build like a 5 level building or lower. And then it'll slide back to the front and all the other cards will push up. And then those cards will, all move up 1 level so you can do a better level of that action. So it's such a cool mechanic that I love. And I loved in that game. I never did get to play it. I had bought it and I could never get it to the table. So I sold it. I'll maybe have to play it with you once because you have that game. But anyway, this one, building a zoo, perfect. I love just the theme of it. And there's like so much about like conservation. Like you can get big points that way and doing all kinds of things. But the main gist of the game is you're trying to get your... Now, is it called Reputation? That one track? Reputation track to meet your, what's the word? Not influence. It's...
Yeah, I don't know, like the green
it's something,
bits,
but these tracks go the opposite way. So one is coming from the bottom and going around, one's coming from the top and coming down. So once those two meet, that triggers the end of the game. And a lot of times, well, maybe not a lot, but if someone is, just flying, they will trigger that and you will not end up meeting your 2 pawns, so you will not score. That happened to me and Bernie because by the time we had it all figured out, we couldn't really catch up to them again. And I think so. I was playing with Ash, Bernie, and Richard, and I'm pretty sure Richard did cross his. I think he did end up getting some points. He did very well as well, but Ash was he's like a genius. If you've ever played against him, when he teaches games, he won't go hard. Like he'll play in a different way. But if you play him as, an equal where he's just playing games, if you watch his moves, sometimes you're sitting there going, oh yeah, my God. Like he'll do 15 different things. And you're like, how did you make that happen out of those cards? Because some people say, well, there's still so much luck because it's the cards you draw, but it's also what you make happen with those cards, right?
Well, and then there's the cards in the middle that you'll have some control of what you can get there as well.
That you can get. If you move up that other middle track, then you can get choose more of those cards. Like it's a really good game. The mechanics are really neat. And they're coming out with an aqua expansion, so it'll add some sort of like marine animals and stuff into it. But it was fun. I do like the speed aspect because I love, I do normally make quick decisions, so I love when we're playing games like that. But I would have loved it more if I really remembered all the rules and knew it well. Then I would have loved even more. I'd love to do a game where you have 2 games going, same people, and you're doing like, I'm going to go do a move here, come back and do a move here, and you're just going back and forth. I have seen people do that. I just want to fry my brain that way. That would be so fun. 2 heavy games, and you're like going back and forth.
Oh my God.
I might do that at one of my retreats one time.
Oh, you're crazy.
See who will do that with me. But yeah, that was my number 8, Ark Nova.
My number 8 is the second game I played as a hosted game, which was Ark Nova.
Oh, yeah.
So finally got Ark Nova played, because every time I was like, oh, Ark Nova is so good, and everybody's played Ark Nova. And I was like, oh, I haven't played it. It's like, you haven't played it? I was like, I know, the shame. But so finally got it played. But holy crow. First of all, the teach was unreal.
Yeah.
We had a table set up for 4. 3 of us were there, so we waited a long time to see if that fourth person would show.
No, really?
They never did.
Oh.
So we waited for a little bit for them just in case they showed up, because it's a massive teach, so you don't want them to skip out.
Yeah.
The person that was teaching did good teaching. He taught everything, like he covered every aspect of it, but he also did, which, you know what, if you're going to be teaching, the best way is kind of to make sure that the crowd is involved and then they retain more. And he did that, was like, okay, so what's involved in a zoo? Animal. That's right. So you're going to have animal cards. And then, but there was so much little, like, and if you'll notice over here, there's this matching symbol. Notice how that matches over there? Look over here. But it lengthened the teach.
Yeah.
So our event was scheduled to start at noon. So we were all there at noon for, well, the one of us who showed up. But the game didn't start till 1:17.
Oh, wow.
And it was on Sunday. And I am dragging. I'm like so tired from the weekend already. I ended up texting my friend Duncan and I'm like, please come grab my debit card and grab me a pop and a chocolate bar because I am falling asleep. So he came, grab my debit card, grab me a pop and a chocolate bar, and I did kind of perk up a little bit because I was like, my eyes were closed and my head's nodding and I'm missing the teach. I'm like, oh my God. So but yeah, so there's lots involved really in this game. Once you know how to play, it's not a difficult game to play. I mean, it's difficult. You're not going to win, right? Like you're going to have negative points the first few times probably.
Don't even plan on getting positive.
Exactly.
Did you get positive points?
No.
Okay. Not the first time you play.
Yeah, no. So, but I was like, it was interesting, so my first thing I did was a build. So I did a one size enclosure, and the first animal I put in there was a turtle. So I was like, oh my God, I got a turtle. So I put a turtle in there, right? And then it was interesting because as you play, you're getting cards that's going to kind of gear you towards a certain way. So I had a discount for Australia, so I ended up picking a lot of Australian cards because I was getting a $3 discounts for those animals. And then I was getting one where I would get to draw extra cards every time I got a bird. So I ended up getting a lot of birds. And then I had the petting zoo one where you could put multiple animals into it. And I had the aviary where you could put extra animals into that one as well. So yeah, it was very interesting. The mechanism, like at the Civilization A New Dawn, like it's super cool. So, because you want to be able to do the most with your action, you want it to be higher up on the board. So the animal card on level 1 does nothing. On level 2 to 4, it allows you to get 1 animal, but if you reach the level 5, it allows you to put 2 animals in your zoo. Now you're going to have the enclosures built before you can do that. And the enclosures allows you to build the bill allows you to put an enclosure, and if you're at the level 5, then you can put a 5 size enclosure. Level 1, you're doing a 1 size enclosure. So, and then what's neat, so let's say I do my animal at the level 3 to put in an animal, everything behind that's 2 and 1 shift into 2 and 3, and now my animal's in the level 1. So you want to try to rotate the cards to get the ones you want to do with the most impact to the front of the line. And so you kind of have to do a few different things to make sure that your cards shift to do what you can. And then these cards can be upgraded as well, flipped over, and then you do more things. It was really neat. It was a neat game. So afterwards, I made arrangement to purchase my own copy. They actually were selling it there for $90. But Pandora's Box, which is kind of like my most local game store to me, has it for $70.
And
so
they're lovely there. So
I love
from them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So support local, right? So
Exactly.
I'm gonna go and pick it up from there. So I've recruited Ashley to go and pick it up for me sometime within the week or whatever. So I'm in no rush. I've got lots of games to keep me entertained anyway, so I'm in no rush. But yeah, this is one that's worth owning. And then just I think because of the theme is so appealing that you can get kind of a wider audience interested
even
in
though
this
it's heavy,
game, even though it's a heavier
do you want to
game.
build a zoo? Oh yeah.
Yeah, so just because and then sometimes get so complicated, but you get so into the details of what you're doing that the theme makes it appealing, so it makes it more approachable. So that was good. So that was my number 8, Ark Nova.
Awesome. Glad you got it played and you liked it. Perfect. All right. My number 7 was Azul, made in 2017 by Michael Kiesling. I had just finished playing Ark Nova and kind of walked around to see what was going on. Like some of, people I knew, if they were playing, they were all kind of busy, except a friend, Carla, and she had a friend, Randy, there, and they were setting up Azul. And I'm like, ooh, we have room for another person. She's like, of course. So I sat down because this is one of my favorite abstract strategy, if not the favorite. I'm like, oh, that's just what I need right now after an Ark Nova is, a nice little
a brain
beautiful
cleanse.
Yeah. I get to stare at my Azul tiles, and yes, so it was perfect. So we sat down and then walked by Dan Cormier. I feel like that is his name.
Yeah.
He's the designer of Chai, and he's like, oh, we're playing Azul. I'm like, yeah, you want to play? No, not
it's a different
Cormier.
last name. No, yeah. Maybe, something like that.
I'll have to look it up. But he's a lovely guy too. And he's like, yeah, sure. And I think he kind of wanted a little break too from running his booth or something. So he sat down. I'm like, awesome, I get to play a game with him. So we all sat and played. And he's very, very knowledgeable of the game. So he was to the right of me so that, when we're drafting tiles, like he could see what I needed or whatnot. And it was neat because he would, not hate drafts so much, but draw some more towards like, I don't really need these, but she really needs them. So, but we ended up finishing the game and I beat him by 1 point.
Nice.
And I love that. I love either winning by 1 point or losing by 1 point or tying. That is my favorite way to finish a game because it's just close. It feels tight. And and I don't like losing a game really bad, and I also don't like winning a game very bad. Losing, I just feel like did I not know what I was doing? And winning, I feel like, did I do something wrong that I have this many points? So I always kind of go back when I win a game too much that like, did I do something wrong? I forget. I don't know. So I love games that end close. That is my favorite way to play a game because it just means the competition is just so equal, right? Because if it's 1 point away, anyone could have won that game. But it was so fun and got to know Kayla a little better. We've played with her at game days a lot and just love her and got to know her friend Randy. We had fun playing that. And that was my number 7, Azul.
Nice. That's great. My number 7 is a game called Nana, created in 2021. I think it's also has a version that's called Trio by Kaya Miyano. And this is a game from Korea, and it's not available in North America yet. And the guy I was playing with had a friend in Korea that ended up buying it and kind of bringing it back. So it was kind of like quite a treat to play. And this is a really interesting game. So I can't remember if it's like from 1 to 9. So the cards go from 1 to 11.
Wait, how do you spell it? Is it 2 N's?
Nana.
And you said it's made in when?
2021.
Oh, okay. I found it.
So it could be called Trio as well.
Oh, yeah.
But so
that's what came up.
Yeah. So you have like the set of cards, the range of cards, and then you got so many cards in your hand. And then there's a few cards in the middle that are face down as well. And you can ask the other players 2 questions. You can either ask, show me your lowest card, or show me your highest card. And these like cards have like whimsy little animals on it and stuff, and it's interesting.
They're very pretty.
Right, they're super cute. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to create 3 sets of 3s because there's 3 of each number out there. So I could be like, okay, show me your highest card, and they play a 10. So okay, so you don't have any 11s. And then I can ask another person, or I could flip a card in the middle. So maybe I'll ask the other guy, I'll say, well, show me your highest card. And he pulls up an 11. Oh, so, okay. So, and as soon as you get cards that don't match, you're done. Everybody picks up their cards again and it goes back in their hands. Now, if, let's say I had 2 11s in my hand, and I was like, well, I see you have an 11, so I'll be like, show me your 11, and I can put my 2 11 down, and I have a trio. Then I have my first trio. And you need 3 of them to win. Or if you get 2 sets of trios that, if together they can equal to 11 to the number 7, then you would win that way. So if I had a 9 and a 2, 9 minus 2 is 7. I could win that way. But then if I had like a 3 and 4, 3 plus 4, it could win that way. So there's different ways that you could do it with less, but 3 and 4 is going to be really difficult to get, because I can't ask, hey, do you have any 3? It's like, what's your highest, what's your lowest? So until they get to where I've cleared out the highest cards and the lowest cards, I won't get access to my 3s and 4s, right? Now, if you're able to get 3 7s, you have 1 set of 3 7, you automatically win. And the 7 card is golden. Like, it has like golden foil on it. So it's super cute. But it was so interesting. It's like, okay, well, show me your lowest card. Okay, well, you have a 3. Well, then I have a 3. So if I can find the other 3. And then somebody earlier had flipped a card in the middle, and I know there's a 3 in there somewhere. Do I remember where it was? Like, it was a really interesting game. I didn't win any time, like, of all the times we played. I think I played it 2 or 3 times, but it was so cool. It was one of those, like, okay, again. I was like, okay, one more time. So, great game. My number 7, Nana.
Awesome. That sounds like a cool game. I just looked it up and you can't find it anywhere.
No, because it's in Korea. It's not out here yet. So yeah.
Okay, cool. My number 6 is Scoville, made in 2014 by Ed Marriott. Now this game was out of print. I guess still is out of print because it isn't reprinted yet, but they are reprinting it. Yeah. So our friend Ashley found a used copy and purchased it and actually picked it up at FallCon. So we played it. That was the first game I played Saturday morning, and it's a very simple teach, but it's a really cute game that is like, it's different than all the other games. And what you are doing is farming peppers. So you have all these different kind of colors of pepper meeples, and the big game board has these little indented slots that will fit peppers. And it starts with 2 peppers in the middle. They're 2 different colors. And how it works is you have like a player order, and in player turn order, you are going to choose a card. There's cards on the top that have different colored peppers on them. And you'll get to choose a card, and whatever's on them, you'll grab those color peppers. You do start with some, and you have this little player board that'll hide your peppers. And you will carry on until everyone does that. And then you will go into a planting phase. And you are going to plant in reverse turn order. No, you're going to, now I gotta think. No, I think you plant them all the same. It's the harvesting where you're gonna do reverse. So anyway, you go ahead and you plant them. So you'll take one of the peppers that either you got or you had behind your board, and you will plant it on the board beside a pepper that is already there. So you will all do that in turn order, and then you're going to harvest. Now you have these little farmers on the board, and they have these little slots beside the peppers that you can walk around and harvest a pepper. Now how your farmer moves can move 0 to 3 spots. So there's these little indents that can move around these peppers. You can't land on the same spot as somebody, and you can't backtrack. So you can't turn around and move a different way. However your farmer's facing, you have to go that way. You do have a few little chips behind your player board where it's like one time you can turn around, one time you can have an extra move, and one time you can plant an extra pepper. And once those are gone, you can't use them again. If you don't ever use those abilities, they're worth 4 points at the end of the game. But normally you can only move 3. So you move up to 3, and then wherever you're standing, whichever 2 peppers are on either side of you, they will make a new pepper. So it's like a mummy and a daddy pepper. And so if I'm between a red and a blue pepper, well, that'll make a purple pepper. So it goes by, okay, however colors they are too, except for some of them, like there's like a black and a white pepper will make this clear ghost pepper, which is really valuable, but it's really neat. There's all kinds of things that and sometimes 2 different peppers will give you 2 of another color. So they're not all, exact colors will make whatever. But it's cute because you have this little grid of what they will all make in front of you. And so when you're planting, if I can get there, that's the pepper that I want. And what you're doing with these peppers is you're fulfilling these little recipes. So you do have some small, tiny contracts on the side that will usually have 2 or 3 peppers, and they will give you money. And then, and they might give you another pepper as well, and a few little points. But then on the other side are these big, long recipes of like 7 or 8 peppers, some of them, or like 5 of like really rare peppers. And so they'll take you a while to build up to them. And then when you fulfill one of those, they are worth some big points. So they're for kind of end game. But it's really cool. And you can also sell peppers too. And how you sell them is if I sell a yellow, I look on the main board, how many yellow peppers are there. Say if there's 6, you divide it by 2, and that's how much money I'll get. So it's really a simple like rule set, but it's still very thinky because you're trying to figure out where to plant. Because I was kind of stuck on my own on this left side of the board, and the 3 others were over there, so I could kind of do what I wanted and plant what I wanted because it took them too long to get to my side, so they kind of stuck over there. I still only came second. I thought, geez, I'm going to make all these rare peppers and none of them will get there. But they were kind of doing a bit on their own there too. So I was playing with Cherry, Ashley, and Bernie, but Bernie had to go to his game. So our friend Murr took over and he ended up winning the game, but we were close. It was a nice close game again, but it was really cute. And I'm glad she got this because the remake is going to be streamlined. So I think they're going to make it even simpler, which I don't know if that would, I like how it is now. I wouldn't want it any simpler, I don't think. So we'll see. I said, well, make sure you keep this until we see what the remake is, because it is a very nice production. I'm not sure how they'll improve on it. Maybe
yeah, that board looked great.
Yeah,
with the little holes really nice. And the peppers fit into it. Like I was impressed.
I know. Yeah. And I think the game she got was literally unplayed. Like it was punched. But when I folded out my board, it was like, I don't think this board has ever been unfolded before. So I think she got a new game that was punched, basically. But yeah. So that's my number 6, Scoville.
Nice. So my number 6 is going to be like my find of the weekend. This is a game that really impressed me. Unfortunately, I'm not getting it. It's self-published. The publisher the designer had done 100 copies.
Oh, yes.
So it's not available. But from what I understand, he's approaching publishers. So keep an eye out because this one will be available soon. Like it'd be ridiculous for for a publisher not to print this. And this game is called Magic Trick. So it was created in 2023. It's brand new. Self-published by Christopher Way. And it's a trick-taking game. And I think there's 5 suits. And the suits, so the cards, each suit goes from 0 to 7. And the cards, so you have your card, the suit, so let's say it's the heart, then you'll see the heart, you'll see the 0 to 7, so there'll be 7 cards of those. On the back, it's a red card with a heart on it. So when it's in you can see from the back which suit this card is from. And you're going to be given your hand, you're going to sort them from highest to lowest, and you're going to stack them from the highest card down to the lowest card. And then you take that stack and you pass it to the player to your left. So you're going to end up with a stack of cards that you don't know what's in here. And you're going to fan them out. And then the ones on the bottom are higher than the ones on the top. But that's all you know. And you know from the back of the card what suit they're for. And now we're playing a trick-taking game. Yeah, they're ordered. So it could be 7, 6, 6, 5, and then jumps down to 2, 1, 0, 0. Like you have no idea what order they're in. Now, of course, if you have the lowest card is a yellow and you're looking around and nobody has a yellow in the lowest position, then guaranteed you have the 0. So there's some information that you can get that way. So we'll be starting and then you'll kind of put, okay, well, and we're playing a trick-taking game. So one person's going to start, says, okay, well, I'm going to take this green one in the middle, and I'll play that as a 5. Okay, so now I know that everything below that are 5 or lower, and everything that was above that is going to be 5 or higher. So it kind of starts to give you a little bit of information as you play. Now, everybody else, because I played a yellow, has to play a yellow. You got to follow suit. Of course, they're in the same condition. Well, I don't know if I'm going to win this trick or not, because my yellow's a bit in the middle here. So, but I maybe it's higher than a 5, maybe it's lower than a 5. I don't know. So I'll flip over. Oh, it was a 3. Okay. So now I know this, right? And everybody kind of plays. Now, if you don't have the suit in your hand, you can play any card you want, or the trump suit is the heart. So you could play a heart, and so on. So you're playing a few rounds until you've gained some tricks or whatever. Some tricks have been done. But then you also need to bid on the number of tricks you think you're going to win with one of your cards. So you're going to take one of the card and tuck it underneath, so you don't know what the number is. Well, I think I'll probably end up winning about 3 tricks. Now, this was a 5, so maybe not the next one, but the one after would be a 3. I'll bid that card. So you bid the card, okay, well, that's a 2, so I can't win any more tricks. I've already won my 2 tricks, right? So you're trying to do that. Now, if you bid correctly, you get 3 points, no matter if it was 1 bid, 0 bid, because you could kind of do 0, 1, 0, whatever the amount of bids. So if you're correct, you get 3 points. If you also have the same number of colors that you've collected that match your bid, so it's a 3 and there's 3 colors total that you've ended up collecting, then you get a bonus of 2 as well. Now, if you had bid 3, you ended up getting only 1, your score is -2, you're losing 2 points. So it was so neat. Like, this blind trick-taking game is unreal. It was so good. I need this game, so I'm hoping it gets published really quick. This game, like, everybody was talking about it. Everybody was playing it at FallCon. Everybody was talking about it. It was like the discovery of the century, because Brent, who was like our main auctioneer, from Calgary, lives in Texas, had brought it. So it was like, oh my God. And I was like, hey, you need to go find him and you need to play this game. So that's my number 6 magic trick.
Yeah, people were talking about making their own home brew of it until they can get it.
It's available, yeah.
You basically just need 7 suit game, right? And what did the numbers go? 1 to
0 to 7.
0 to 7, because Arboretum has 8 suits in 1 to 8. So if you can get a used copy of that, you can turn that, as long as you kind of put something on the back with the suit. Yeah. Or 2 copies and you don't want the number, you just want the suit on the back.
Yeah.
And then also, I just looked it up. Linko is another one that has 10 suits, I think, or more than 7.
I was like, I'm going to find a way to play this game.
Because the people who I was talking to, I'm like, are you going to make your own cards? Like, because how do you do that, right? I'm not at all inclined. And they're like, oh yeah, it's easy. And then you just sleeve them. And I'm like, that seems like a lot of work. I would rather just buy a game and somehow put the suit on the back. But yeah, I want to play that.
That was impressive.
That sounds awesome.
So impressive. Yeah.
All right. My number 5 is Race to the Raft by Frank West.
Nice.
This year, 2023. This was a Kickstarter that I had received from a retail group buy from Sentry Box. And I wasn't sure if I was going to keep my pledge, because that one you're not committed to keep it. You don't even pay up front. You just pay when it comes in, which is so awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And so I'm like, and then I was watching a few videos and I'm like, oh, this kind of looks up my alley. That's why I probably backed it in the first place. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I got it, and I got our good friend Travis to pick up this with my artisans, Sagrada Artisans. He picked it up for me. Thank you so much, Travis. And he delivered it. Yes. He is awesome. We missed him at FallCon, though.
Yes, he had a ball game tournament. He's texting us, sent pictures.
I know. How's everyone doing? I was like, oh, poor guy. But he's coming to Card Treat, which I'll talk about at the end. But anyway, so this game is a cooperative game, or you can play it solo. Works the same both ways. But it is a continuation of Isle of Cats, which where you are rescuing cats, from this evil, I can't remember his name now, and he's trying to like get all these cats on an island, and I'm not sure what he's doing with them, but he's trying to throw them in your boat and take them away. Whereas this one, it's the cats that were left, and now they are trying to escape onto this raft, but the island is like on fire. So you have this huge grid in front of you of all these different colors of terrain and fire all over the place. And then you have cats. So you'll have you start with, there's like a whole campaign you can play, but you can play like the tutorial, you can play like the practice. So we started with one of the tutorial games, and I had played it a few times with Cherry, and I played it quite a few times solo too, to just learn it and figure it out. It's not easy if you play it in a harder mode. The easy mode, it's fairly easy at the beginning, but I think as you move on to scenarios, it'll get harder because it adds more cats that you have to rescue and different ways of rescuing them. But this one just started with 3 different cats. They're so there's all different colors, but we started with a green, a red, and an orange cat, and they are on different spots on the grid, and they have all this fire behind them, and they are trying to get to the raft on this bottom right corner of the board. Now, how you do that is you have these little terrain cards that you're going to each take 3 at the beginning of the round, and then you're going to place them on the board to make the path. Like the green cat can only move on green, orange on orange, and red on red. So you're trying to make their path right to the raft so that they can just move straight to the raft. How you do that is you play 1 card and hopefully make the path better for them. As soon as you play a card, you have to grab a polyomino fire tile out of the bag and add more fire. So just kind of like, in Pandemic, you get to do something good, and then of course the bad things happen. Always works that way. The other thing you can do is move the cats. So you will just discard a card and move one of the cats as far as it can go on the grid. So if you've made a path all the way to the raft, you can play 1 card and it can move all the way. If you are ramping up the difficulty, the advanced rules are it can only move 5 spots. So we played just the normal, because I did try both as solo, and it is very hard just moving the 5, but I think after you play it a while, you'll kind of figure it out. So anyway, so you do that, and then everyone plays all 3 of their cards. And the thing is, you can't talk during it. You can only discuss before you pick up your cards what you kind of want to do. And then once you get your cards, you can say things like, I have a lot of green, like I can really help the green cat. I don't have anything to help red cat or whatever, but you can't say I have a T shape on my card that I can put right there. Like you can't be very specific. You can't say I can take that cat to the end. It's just, you can say very vague things. You do have these 2 talk chips and these 2 cat meow chips, which I kind of find a little silly, but the talk chips you will, so the 4 of them, you'll kind of shuffle up and deal them around. So someone will end up with 2 chips, and depending on player count, we played with 3 people. I played with Kayla and Randy. And so Randy and I had a talk chip and Kayla had the 2 meow chips. So what you do with them is, if, like I said, you can't talk during it, but you can spend your talk chip once per game, and you can say something like, if someone's putting a fire tile in the most ridiculous place and you're like, no, I got a better spot for that, or something like that, you can do that. The meow chips are, you play them to meow. Now, I don't know if it just is like, you're like, no. Like, so you'd be like, meow, 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 meow. Like, I think that's what they're for. We didn't use them, but I assume that's what he means by meowing, because I'm not sure why you'd want to meow at anyone, or if that's the only thing I can think of what they'd be used for. We didn't use them, but you also have these 3 water drops that will allow you to pull off 3 fire tiles throughout the game if you need to use them. I did use them in the solo play because I had played quite a few scenarios. We didn't actually need them in the game. We did rescue the cats, and we got them to the end before the board was covered in fire. So it is very puzzly. My favorite part of it, of course, is laying the polyomino tiles, because especially when you can get them to fit perfectly where it doesn't affect the cat's path, sometimes it's impossible. And as soon as you cover up a spot that prevents a cat from from getting to the raft, you lose the game. We did end up winning this one, but it does get harder, and there's way more things that you can add to it to make it harder, which will take a while before that happens. Like, we've slowly added a few things, me and Cherry, but when we did our 2-player. But it is really neat and puzzly, and that's my number 5, Race to the Raft.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. My number 5 is a game that I had on my wish list at the auction. I did end up getting it. I got the older version, which was published in 2008, and I ended up playing the newer version that was reprinted in 2021, and that's Tinner's Trail. Now, this is a really interesting game. So it's like in Europe, and you're mining for for tin and copper. Yeah, tin and copper. So you have this map, and on this map they have like these little segments, and each one of those gets a tile face down, and you don't know what they are, but when you flip them over, you'll see what is available to mine there. And the whole thing was really neat. The older version that I ended up getting to has similar components, but it's just like a plainer looking game. This newer one is cool. Plus, I think they've added a way to be able to play it solitaire. Because otherwise, the original is a 3 to 4 player game, right? Because there's a bidding mechanism and stuff. So they've kind of revamped it so it could be played at a lower play count. But it was so much fun. So you're going around and you've got like your play order, and whoever's on the top and furthest left is whoever's furthest left, then on the top is the first player or the next player to go. So, and then depending on the action, you're going to be moving forward so much. So if I do an action like bidding, so I'm going to bid on one of the location because I need a mine to be able to collect goods for them. So you're going to bid on this location. Now, depending on how you bid, you might be able to see what's there. You may not know what's there. You might be bidding blind. And then you have cards that you would affect the location. Maybe it adds more cubes to the location. Maybe it removes the water cube, because the water cube is interesting. You'll have the silver cubes, which is your tin. You'll have like the orange cube, which is your copper, and then you have blue cubes, which is your water. And the water will affect the cost of mining these cubes. So if you have one water cube, for every one you mine, every one you pull out will cost you $1. If there's and then every time you finish mining, you add another water cube, because it's harder now to get to the rest of the stuff. You got to dig deeper. And now next time you go, if there's 2 water cubes, you got to pay $2 for every cubes you mine out. And you can only mine so much. So if you win a bid and you get the mine, you get to put your little house on it to show that this is yours, this is your mine, and it allows you to mine 2 cubes at a time. You can also, as an action, send a little miner meeple onto it. Now you can mine an extra cube. If you end up putting a boat, and you can only put a boat if it's on the edge of the map, well, that will allow you to mine an extra cube, and it'll take away a water cube. And then so you're doing that. Okay, great. So I can mine here because I've won the bid. I own this thing, but I can only mine 3 because I have my mine and my little miner. So I'm going to mine 3, but there is a water cube there, so it's going to cost me $3 to be able to get this out. And at the beginning of each round, you also roll all the dice to set the price for tin and to set the price for copper. So the price might change. Like, I had kept a copper cube one time for the next round because it was at $4, which is not the best price. So I was like, well, maybe it'll go up. So I'll hold on to this. And then the next final round too, the price was $2. And I'm like, oh, come on. So I lost value to this. But then with the action, so if I'm doing, let's say, the bidding, that cost me 2 actions. So then you move your cube over 2 over, and at the top of that column. Then the next person will do their action, and let's say they do the mining, and then, or they send a miner onto it, and that's 1 action, so they move up. So they're still left of me, so they would go before I would go again. You know, like with the action, and then they would do the next action. Maybe then that's a 3 action, so then it would move 3 further, and then I would get possibly to do a couple of things before they get to go again. So the whole action selection was really interesting. The whole cube things, and like there was ways to add more cubes, there was ways to remove the water cubes, and then like there's a couple of time when we're bidding and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll bid $5, and then it's like it's up to 8 and I'm like, I don't really want it, I don't know what's there, I know he's like looked at it, it's like, fine, I'll go 8, and he's like, you can have it for 8, and I flip over and it has 1 tin, 1 copper, 3 waters. So it would cost me $6 to get those tiny 2. That's worth $2 right now. So it's like, oh, come on. It was so good. It was so good. I'm so glad that I purchased this game because it was on my wish list because I can't remember what I had watched. I was talking and raving about this game, and I was like, okay, I think I want to get it. So, and then I'm so glad that I got the chance to play it, so I know how to play now, and I'm so glad I got it. It's an amazing game. So that's my number 5, Tinner's Trail.
And it was just the 3 of you playing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Mur had brought it, and he wanted to teach it, and I said, I know Mel's going to want to play or learn it because she just bought it. Now, Did you open your older version? Is it very similar?
It's, you know what? The components aren't as intricate,
right?
But it pretty much looks the same.
That's
like my boats are still boat shape. I still have the little, my little miners are still like little meeple shaped miners and stuff. So they prettied up the game, definitely. I don't know what the changes are to make it available as a solo game. I think there's cards available for that, but so I'm really excited for my copy. Like, it's the original version, awesome. But it doesn't take away a whole lot.
I'm glad you got to play it, and Mur was he loves that game and he wanted to teach it and be able to play it, so I'm happy he got to play it too. So
he did a good job awesome. Teaching it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
He might, maybe I'll get him to teach that at Cartreat.
You should, it was good.
Yeah, great Martin Wallace game. So you got that's older
Martin
version.
Wallace, yeah. Mine was published in 2008. The reprint was done in 2021.
Oh, that's cool. And so Cherry ended up getting the original brass at the auction for
another Martin Wallace
$7.
Game.
Yeah,
right.
And, because she loves brass, she has brass Birmingham, and she loves it, and so she's like, I'm just gonna bid on it just to kind of see the difference for $7. And the cover is so like retro and cool. I'm like, even if you just keep it like in your game room as like a momentum almost, but you kind of opened it up and. Like we're gonna have to try it because it's just the original, right? But that's awesome. Okay, so that's your number 5. My number 4 is Fit to Print, made in 2023 by Pat. Now I can't read my writing. Is it Pat or Petra? Peter. It's Peter. I wrote Peter. My husband says I have the messiest writing, and I have a restaurant, and so I serve a lot. And he's like, I can't read what you wrote. I can't even read my own writing. Peter McPherson. That's what I wrote. Petra. No, it's Peter.
Peter.
No, this is a game you and I both backed with Century, so we're excited. Waiting for it to come. But our friend Bernie had he backed it alone, so directly, he has arrived earlier. And I was really excited to play because I'm like, I want to know if I like this game before I pick it up. And I kind of knew I would like it, but just to make sure, because it's just right up my alley. It's a tile laying game, but it's real time. So if you ever played what's it called? Galaxy Trucker, where you're tile placing, but real time. Where for me, that theme is a little bit lost on me. I don't really know an interest like ship parts and all those kind of things, where you are running a newspaper or like a magazine, and you have to fill your board with like ads and pictures and articles, but you have to do it in you're racing to do it, but apparently I had just seen Bernie had listed that there's actually a timer that you can play with where you only have a certain time. We didn't do that, thank God, because
the first time
this is a game. Right? Yeah, this is a game that the first time you do it, you're going to be like, what? Because you have this grid, this small grid. I thought it would be bigger, but it's small, the first one, and it gets bigger per round. You have 3 rounds. So you have this small grid where you're placing all these ads, but before you do that, you just have to visualize what you're going to need. And you have this huge pile of face down tiles and this little like cardboard table where it's like your office, right?
Desk, yeah.
Your desk, yeah. And so you the first phase is you just picking up tiles and put them on your desk. So you flip them over, and if you like it, you'll take it. If you don't like it, you'll leave it face up for somebody else. So you can only use one hand, which I think I did. I think I made myself sit on my other hand, otherwise like I would have to use it. So I would grab these tiles, and then I'm like, well, I think that's going to fill it. The first time, I don't think I grabbed enough tiles to fill it. Thankfully, my little power was you can take an extra tile during placement, which still didn't fill my board. But so I did all that, and then I ended up with 2 points. And because I had too many open spaces. So you're trying to cover your board, but you're also trying to connect the things that you need points off of each other. You can't put articles next to articles. You can't put pictures next to pictures, and you can't put ads next to ads. So that's the real hard part, because you can put them diagonally touching, but they can't have a side touching. So that's tricky, because you have to know, well, where was I planning this to go? And just to plan it before you put it on your board is tricky, but I love it. It's awesome. So you do that, and then, so you do that, and then you will place them on your board, and then once you're done, you will grab this chip in the middle. And we were in a 3-player game, so there's 3. So if you're the first one done, you grab the number 1, second, 2, third, 3. And then you're finished, and then you will score it. And so it scores for, like, I think the pictures all will say, like, they want to be next to green and blue ads, articles, or they might want to just be next to pink articles. And that I did pay attention to, but I didn't score them the first round. I just counted my pictures. I totally forgot. I don't even know if I would have had any more points, because I don't know if I actually got many of the right articles next to the pictures. But there's also these happy faces and sad faces on different pieces that you're trying to balance, because if you have more of one than the other, then you have like some negative points. I totally forgot about that the first round. I think I got a -4 or 5 for that or something. And then you want to have enough ads, because I had heard that the person who is the lowest just doesn't get to even score their thing. So I was making sure I had all these ads so that I could at least score. So yeah, I did terrible the first round. The second round, you have a bigger grid, because it's smaller in the first round. It's way bigger in the second one. And so you do the same thing. And then you score the points. And then the third, you flip your board over, and it's kind of a giant board compared to the other side. And so you're filling even more. Now, the first time you play it, it is tricky, because you forget which are the ads, you forget which, I mean, the pictures are very obvious, but you're like, right. I got to do the happy faces. There's so many things to think about. But then once you get to the second, you kind of got it. And then the third, okay, I think I know what I'm doing now. But by then your score, you're not going to win the first game you play, I don't think, unless you're all playing the first time. It was awesome. And the timer, I would not play with the timer the first time you play, because it'd just be too stressful. I don't even know how many minutes the timer is or how long we took, but it was awesome. And it's just like a quick game. I'm sure we played it in a half an hour, maybe a little bit longer with the 3 rounds. So it's basic. And with the timer, it's going to be basically set how long you play, other than the scoring. But I can't wait to get this one. And that's my number 4, Fit to Print.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited for that. That one won me over. I was listening to the Board Game Barbecue podcast, and they were talking about Fit to Print like last year when it was hitting Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And one of them kind of said, yeah, it's like Galaxy Trucker. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't realize that, because I wasn't going to back it until I heard that. I was like, okay, no, I want this game. So, yes,
and the
I'm
art's
really excited.
Really cute on it,
It
too.
does look super cute. I didn't get a chance to play this weekend.
Oh, you did? I thought you played with them Friday.
I didn't get a chance to.
Oh, you'll like
But
it. For sure.
Yeah, because with the volunteering and so it just didn't happen for me. But yeah, I walked by and took a couple of pictures as I was volunteering the open gaming area. So it's like, oh my god, I can't wait. So it looks amazing. But yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to play this one yet. All right, so for my number 4, now my brother's birthday was last weekend, and for his birthday, I bought him a day pass for FallCon for the Saturday. So we ended up coming. So because of that, I stayed at his house so we could just kind of come together in just one vehicle on Saturday. Normally I stay at my sister's, so I ended up staying at my brother's. And so Friday night, midnight, everybody's in bed, and I'll just sneak in. He's like, okay, sounds good. So I'm going in his house. I open the front door, and he's got this little bench there, and he's got earth sitting there. I was like, oh, wow. And then I walk in, and on this table, he's got verdant, and then he's got heat. And then I was like, oh my god. And then he's got Le Havre, which is a game I've been wanting to play. And I was like, oh, you've got Le Havre. So it's so cool. Like I said, growing up, me and my siblings play board games together all the time. All of us are into board games. Me probably most. But then my brother, huge collection. I was taking pictures of all of his collection. So on the Facebook page, the Mel's Board Game Room, I've got his pictures of all the games I came across. And then as I left, I had to stop and grab something at my sister's, like a quick in and out. And then on her coffee table, as I was waiting for her to kind of go grab what I was picking up, she has Adrenaline and Corinth and Sheriffs of Nottingham and Ciro. And it's like, I love that my siblings are board game players as well. But so me and Tommy ended up bringing Earth to play it at FallCon, and he hadn't played it before. And it's funny, because growing up, I would read the rules and learn the game, and then my brother would be there, and then we'd figure out how to play the game, and once we knew how to play, we'd call Ginny, and she'd join us. So it was always me who would read and learn the games, but this time it was Tommy reading the game. And Ginny was explaining to me, my sister was explaining how when he's teaching her a game, she's like, don't bother teaching me. Just give me the bare basic, and then we'll figure out as we play. Like, she needs to be playing it. Don't teach it to her. So Tommy had learned Earth, and he's like, okay, so with this one, you're going to need to get these cards and create a 4x4 grid. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, all right, let's get started. I was like, wait, stop. What? It's like, I don't know how to play. And he's, I think, just so used to teaching Ginny that he's just like, skip everything, because she just doesn't want all that information. So I was like, I'm going to need more information than this. So the teach was a little kind of, I was like, no, you need to teach this better. But once we got playing, it is an interesting game. So you have your player board. You are, is it drafting cards? Or you just have some cards, because there's a huge pile of cards in here that you're going to go through, and then you're going to get these cards, and it's going to cost dirt to be able to plant them, like, because
you just get dealt the cards.
Okay, you get dealt the cards, so you have dirt to spend to be able to plant them in this 4x4 tableau. And then I'm like, well, how does it matter where they go? But some cards will be like, okay, well, if you have this around this card, then you get to score, but you don't know what you're going to get. So you're kind of building the tableau blind at first. And then you have the different actions you can do. And it's one of those games where, okay, I'm going to do this action, so then the other players can do the sub action, like a smaller version of it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to plant. So then I get to plant 2 cards. Everybody else gets to plant 1. And then as I'm doing that, so now I would kind of put my little leaf token to show that I've done this action. Then the next round, Tommy would pick an action, and now I have the option of doing the sub-action of the planting I had just done, or do the sub-action of the action he just ended up doing, which maybe was drawing cards, let's say. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I'll draw cards as well. And then some of the cards that get discarded face down in your compost pile. And that's going to end up giving you score as well at the end. And then it was, so it was like so much going, like, this is engine building. Like, you are kind of doing things, trying to get your cards. And then because as you're doing the action, there's also a color square on it, and you get to activate all the cards that you have that have that colored action on it. The whole game, never got a green action at all. So every time we're doing the plant action, I'm not activating anything at all. But it was really neat. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was kind of a bit of a brutal teach because he's been teaching Ginny where it's just, I will tell you nothing, we'll figure it out. But that was Earth, published in 2023 by Maxim Tardif. Great game.
That's funny. Yeah, no, that's a good game. I like it too. I had bought it and played it. We played it once. It was the first game we played at Gobfest. Like I had taught it and we played it, and it was like not the game that you want to kind of, when you're really hyped up for a convention, to play the first game, and we were just like, because we were just so hyper excited to be there. But it's more like it's a chill.
It's a kind of it's a thinky game. So you're not, there's not a lot of energy in it.
No, but I like. So then I'm like, I don't know, do I like this game? And then we played it again another time. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this. This is engine building. I love it. So no, it's a good game. Awesome. It's your number 4. My number 3 is Marrakesh, made in 2022 by Stefan Feld. Now, this one was a planned game we were going to play. It wasn't, there was a hosted game there, but I believe it was it? I think it was Friday, so that's why I missed it.
Right.
And, but Ashley ended up getting a copy, so she taught us, and me and her and Cherry and Mur played, and it is awesome. This was one that was on my list that I would like to, maybe own, but I definitely want to play it first. And then she ended up buying it. So I'm like, perfect. Nice. I just don't have any more room. But I love Stefan Feld games. And this is his newest original, because he's been remaking a bunch for his city collection. This is in his city collection, but it's a brand new one. Nice. Now, it is a beast on the table. It takes up a lot of space because your player board is the size of a normal game board. So you have that plus the game board, which is actually not a huge game board, but you each have these giant player boards. So, with 4 of those, and then the actual game board takes up a lot of space. But it's just beautiful. You have all these different colors on your player board with all these different spots to put your keshies and your workers. And what you do is you all have these different colored keshies, one of each color at the beginning of the game behind your player board. And you're going to choose 3 of them. And everyone will close their fist and open. You see what everyone chooses. And then you chuck them all in this little cube tower. And whatever comes out is what's going to be available that round. Before you put them in, whatever colors you put in, you take your workers and put them on that color of the board on your player board. So then you're going to draft these keshies, and you'll just in turn order draft. You can take up to 2 of one color, but if there's only 1 of each color, you only get 1. So of course the first players are going to get the 2s, and then, it'll continue on until they're all gone. And if you can't take one because you're full, then it passes to the next player. That happened once to me. I got to take an extra one because Cherry couldn't take it, which is nice. But so then, once you've drafted them all, then in turn order, you will take your actions. So wherever you had placed your workers, you will do those actions, whether or not you got those color of keshies. And they all have different actions, and they're all kind of neat. So you're playing all these little mini games, which is cool, because one of them is to build these walls around, and they will give you points, and they'll give you other keshies. There's one that has this little wheel, the pink one, where if you do an action there, you get to choose one of the actions and get one thing, then you turn the dial, and however many workers that are printed on the little wheel are around the action, you'll get 1, 2, or 3 of those things. So you can kind of plan that one. There's one where you're moving up a river, and there's all these little bonuses on the river. So it's a total point salad game. So many things and ways to get points. There's tracks you can move up, and then once there's 2 tracks, and when you get to certain points, you connect the 2, and they have all these connected lines with all these little bonuses. You can fulfill these little recipe cards. You can get player powers on another one. It's just everything I love in one game, and it's awesome. So I can't wait to play that one again, but that's my number 3, Marrakesh.
Yeah, that's one of the game I picked up this weekend, because Ashley had ordered the Essential Edition and then got the Deluxe Edition, and she's like, and I was like, well, I'll take the Essential Edition then. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. All right, so my number 3 is a game called Winter that was published in 2022 by Maria Blasco Arendis and Enrique Blasco. Now, this game was purchased by my friend Dave Chapman. Now, Dave Chapman runs the Rat Hole podcast, and I don't think it's just a podcast. It's like a whole channel thing. So definitely look him up at the Rat Hole. They do lots of things there. Like lots board game related. So, but he had just been like gone for 2 months. So went to Gen Con, went to all bunch of these board game stuff. And then this was one that he picked up somewhere along the way, and we ended up playing it. And it's a 2-player game. It's very simple, but it is fun. So you have cards, and the cards have snowflakes on it. So 3x2 in snowflakes. Some are light blue, some are darker blue. And you set a card down. So the first round, you'll set a card down. And you're trying to create so that you get 4 of your snowflakes together as a 2x2. Then when you do that, you can put, on one of your turn, you can put a snowflake token onto it. So we're taking turn adding cards, putting our snowflake tokens until all the cards are played. Once all the cards are played, you can move a card somewhere else and add a snowflake tokens. And by moving it, you might be messing up the other player so that their snowflake tokens is no longer legal and they have to remove it. Or you can remove a card altogether. And maybe you've branched out in an area and then he has 3 snowflakes tokens there. So I'm going to remove this card, which removes all of those cards, and then because it's no longer connected, and then all those snowflakes tokens are returned to him. So you're kind of doing this until you're the last snowflake token left on the board and you win the game. It was simple but very strategic, and it's a tiny little game, but it's like a 1 versus 1 battle type game that I tend to love. But like to look at it with these like icons and then the token in the between of the icon, it kind of looks like Gentle Rain. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it has a complete different feel because this can get mean.
Yeah. It looks so fluffy. Oh, we're just walking in the winter, and then it's like, no,
yeah, it's a snowball fight. Yeah. So, it was good. I really enjoyed it. Cute. I mean, it looks super zen to look at it, but it is not a zen game.
No.
So
it's chess, like
and then from what I understand. The publisher, I believe, is looking at creating one for each season. Yeah. So that was winter. So that's winter, my number 3.
Yeah, this one I had got. Actually, my dog gave it to me for Christmas.
Nice.
No, I had found it before Christmas. I'm like, awesome! It's going in that box. And yeah, it's so cute. I love it. I think he's got one other season now. I'm trying to think because I looked it up after. I'm like, ooh, these will be interesting, like little abstract season games. But I forget which one he has coming out next, or the designer, whatever. But it's very cute and so easy to take anywhere. You just need a little bit of table space to play it. But I mean, quite a bit of table space, not a little. Like you couldn't play it on an airport or an airplane table or anything like that. But it's neat. All right, my number 2 is Life of the Amazonia, made in 2023 by Jamie Bloom. Now, this was another Kickstarter I just received. I had played it once with my game group, and then I played it solo quite a few times just to learn it more because I wanted to play it at FallCon and teach people and be able to teach it well. This one I got to play with Kayla and Randy, and then our friend Carl, who is also that we've met at different conventions, walked up and he's like, oh, is there room for one more? Because this game just looks gorgeous. It has these beautiful screen printed meeples of all these different jungle animals and birds. And like I had a pink dolphin was my unique player, or my unique animal. But what you're doing is you're building out a jungle, and it's a bag builder. So you all start with a bag of chips, which is either money, leaves, water, or food. And what you can do with these things is you can plant trees, plant water lilies, you can place animals, and you can upgrade your chips with the money. So you'll pull out 5 chips out of your bag, and you have this little hexagonal tile in front of you, and you can add more terrain. So there's only water, forest, and desert. I believe it might be called something else in it, and those are the different kinds of hexes that can be on there. So you're adding the the tiles to build up these different terrains, and like depending what you're trying to do, you might want to have a huge like water terrain, which was what I was doing this game. But so anytime you do grab another hex, you move up this terrain path, and this will give you like different bonuses. If you get like way to the end, near the end of the game, you'll have big points. Anytime you build a tree, you'll move up the tree track. Anytime you build a water lily, you move up the water lily path. So there's 3 tracks that you're going to move up, and they will give you points and bonuses throughout the game. You also want to place these animals. Now, it starts with 8 common animals always in the game. There's different cards. So we started with level A. So they all have certain scoring features on them. Now, the next game, we would maybe flip them to B, there's C and D, and then there's more that came with the Kickstarter. So the game will change up quite, like it'll drastically, because there'll be completely different ways of scoring them. But now how you score some of them is like the little tree frogs want to be next to trees. The woodpeckers want to be, I don't even know if they're called tree frogs. There's some type of frog that want to be next to water lilies. And then the woodpeckers want to be next to a tree. The otters just want to have the biggest terrain that you can make. And then there's like, what else do we have there? There's toucans that they can be placed anywhere, but they give you little bonuses. So they all kind of combo together. There's jaguars, which want to just be surrounded by animals. I wonder why. But so you try to get them like right in the middle. Now, the bigger animals, they need 2 little 2 little tiles that they need to fill up, whereas the little ones just need to have 1. And they all have to be on specific types of terrain. So you really have to plan, like, okay, I'm going to put this here and then surround everything here. It's really neat. Like, it's beautiful and it's thinky and it's like nature. Like, how else could it go wrong in my eyes anyway? But it's so fun. And just all the, like, just staring at it is beautiful. I did get of course, the deluxe version. So everything is wooden, because otherwise the trees would have been little cardboard you'd have to build. Everything would have been cardboard. I think the base game still would come with the wooden meeples, but it's so neat. I got the wooden chips that you pull out of the bag, because it's so much better than the cardboard chips. And the cardboard chips would wear after a while, whereas the wooden ones, they are totally fine. But it's so neat, and I can't wait to play this one again. Me and Carl did kind of the same strategy where we went with some otters, and we did like a huge water terrain and then added a bunch of animals there. And I ended up finishing the game. So whoever finishes it, meaning the last person to completely deplete the 5 animals out of the main, they get to take the 5-point chip. And so we ended up at the end scoring, and I beat him by 4 points because I had that chip. If I wouldn't have had it, he would have won. So it was awesome. But the other thing is, you all get a unique animal to start, and they're all different. So I had a pink dolphin that I got to place, and this dolphin let me like buy these wild chips with money, whereas normally you have to just get them from bonuses. That was a really cool ability, but there's so much to explore in this game. I'm sure it's ripe for expansions, because there's things you could totally add to this, but haven't even explored half of what it came with all the Kickstarter cards. And also they have more unique animals, and it's just awesome and beautiful. And that's my number 2, Life of the Amazonia.
Nice. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound right up your alley too.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. My number 2. We're on number 2 now, right?
Yeah.
So my number 2 is a game actually I've been wanting to get. So I actually purchased this one from Greg because he was selling it. So I picked it up this weekend. So I have, again, like the older version. They reprinted it to kind of be a more condensed version and just prettier. And Dave had that with him, so we ended up playing it, and that's Fluxx, the board game. Now, I like the Fluxx game. It's so chaotic. Like, it's just, you start, you draw a card, you play a card. Each card will do different things. And then as you play, you'll get cards that'll change the rules. It's like, okay, well, now we draw 3 cards. Okay, now we draw 3 cards, but we got to play all of our cards. Or it's like, okay, well, now you draw 1 card, but you cannot keep any cards in your hand. You have to discard everything. Or, so it changes all the time. And you're trying to acquire keepers to meet the goal to win the game. And it's very take that kind of game, because be like, well, I'm just going to take that keeper and put that in front of me. I was like, yeah, well, now that you have that, I'm just going to go ahead and change the goal. So it doesn't matter that you have that keeper. So it is, and I have a lot of different versions. Like, I have the original Star Trek. That was the first one we got. I have the pirate one. I have the eco nature one. I have the astronomy one. I have the Monty Python one. Like, I have just a whole bunch of them. So I was like, and I've been seeing Looney Lab kind of advertise their Fluxx the board game, and I was like, okay, I kind of want to get that and see how that works. So we ended up playing it, and it's really neat. Like, you got these tiles on the board. You create a 3x3 with all these tiles on the board, and everybody starts in the middle start tile. And everybody has 3 meeples, but I'm saying meeples like that because we all get like a different color, but you also have a different shape. So one was a meeple, one was like a little game token, and one was like, so there's 4 different shapes that you can play as well. And you start in the middle, and you have the board that's your rule board, and it's like, okay, so on your turn you can draw 1 card, and there's a peg showing the draw 1. You can play 1, you can move 2, and you can and then there's these funky rules that's like, yes, you can do this, or no, you can't. So, and they all start with a no. And then so you keep track of what you got there, and then you have another tile that has like the goal on it. So you play, there's 5 goal cards on there, but you can add to it, and you can, so, and this board has all sorts of icon on it. So instead of having keepers in front of you, you need to get your player piece onto the right part of the board to meet the goal. And there's a bunch of different things that you can do. And then one of the things he did was like, he traded spaces with me, so it forced me to be in the wrong spot from what I was trying to do. So then he's right next to where the goal is going to be. Then I played a card that was like, send the other players all of their tokens, goes right back to the start. So I got send them all to the start, and he goes to play, and he's like, oh, what did you do? So it was so satisfying. I ended up winning. Like, we played it twice back to back. I ended up winning both times. So I loved it. It was so good. And that was Fluxx the board game. So I'm super thrilled to have it in my collection now. Awesome. Yeah, it was fun. Game? Yeah, it plays pretty quick. No, it plays pretty quick. I guess it could vary depending on how it went, but yeah. For us, it played pretty quick because I was about to start playing Mosaic, so I couldn't play anything big. So we just played a couple of little games together before it was time for me to go. So yeah, it was good. Fluxx the board game.
Nice. My number 1 is La Granja. This was made in 2014 originally, and then remade in 2023 with a big Grandmaster set, which I did get, and I love it. And it's made by Michael Keller and Andres Odie Odendahl. Now, a whole bunch of other designers added some modules in there, like Stefan Feld is one of them, and I love his little module. But there's a whole bunch of other ones, and they're all really unique, and you can mix and match and use whichever ones you want. So this one was a planned game that I had planned with a few friends. I had put out in our chat, oh, does anyone want to play this? And Bernie's like, I have it too, so you don't have to bring it because it's a huge box, and you can teach us. And then Mer's like, I want to play this too. So we had planned to play it at a certain time, which was actually right before the auction. I'm like, okay, I'll teach it, and then after the auction, we'll play it. So I had it set up, and Ash, this new guy that we had met, I had met him at another convention, but we really got to know each other at this convention. He walked up, he's like, oh, do you have a spot? I want to play this so bad. So we're like, yes. And of course, he knows it well. So he ended up teaching it better than me. So I'm like, do it, just teach. Because I tend to go all over the place, like just like I do in this podcast. But like, I'll start, oh yeah, then there's this. Oh, and then over here you get to do this, whereas he like has a nice flow of the teach. So he ended up teaching it, which was awesome. And so then we played, and how this game works, we have talked about this lots already, but you are building up your farm and you have this player board that you can place these different these cards in all areas of your board. They are multi-use cards because they can be used from the left side of the card, the right side, the top and the bottom. And there's just so many ways the cards can be played. You get to play 1 every round, 2 at the beginning of the first round, and then you can purchase these roof tiles that will be placed on the roof, and they will cover up points that you will get and give you bonuses throughout the game. There's this little area control thing going on in the middle where if you fulfill a market delivery, you get to place one of your chips, and depending what value that market was, you get, say it was a 5. If I put a 5 down and I am in the middle of like a 2 or a 3, I get to knock them out. So that's like its own little mini game. There's other craft buildings that you can fulfill as well, and they will give you income every round. So you kind of want to do those quick as well. There's just a lot going on in this game. But again, we were playing with Ash. Now this guy's an absolute genius. His turns were just unreal. Like he would have 8 deliveries a turn. And
oh, wow.
For like 4 rounds. Like, I'm like, how did he do that? But anyway, so we would like watch his turn and he's like explaining everything he's doing. And we're like, oh, holy crap. So I thought he was just destroying us. And like the middle, he was kind of taking it over. So in the last round, I had, it was funny because I was the last player. You really want to be the last player in this last round because then you have the power to like manipulate the middle if you have a bunch of markets you're fulfilling. But it was funny because I ended up, Mur helped because he was right before Ash, and then it was Bernie and then me. So they got to do their actions and place their markets, and then I was the last player. So on my turn, I had like 3 markets to put out. So I ended up, how it worked was placing them on the board, and I ended up kicking him out like 3 or 4 times, which was big points. I wasn't just getting points, I was taking points away from him. And then I ended up winning by 2 points. I don't know how that happened because my turns were nothing compared to his, but he was just like unreal what he was doing and how he had comboed everything with his cards, and it was just awesome. So that was why the next day he's like, okay, we're going to play something in the morning. And I'm like, okay, I kind of owe you because I don't know how I pulled off that win, but he's like, let's play Ark Nova. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you definitely will have the upper hand in that one because I haven't played it in a while. And he did destroy us all in that one, but this Granja game was so good. It was the highest I'd ever scored in that game. And I think it was because of the competition that I was just like, I gotta figure out a way to even get close to him because we're just gonna all get blown away. But I think that pulled out like the athlete in me where it's like, I just gotta figure out a way to like just at least get close to him. And that was Granja, my number 1. I love it. I'm so glad I got it. And
it's such a good game.
It's just a great game. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I've seen that. Like, yeah, he's combo-tastic a lot.
He is. Yeah. Yeah. He's my hero.
He's my hero. I want to be just like him.
How he combos things, I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And then, of course, after that game, I'm like, did I do something wrong? Because I don't know how I could have beat him after all his moves. Maybe I was like,
maybe I cheated.
Yeah, maybe I accidentally cheated because there's no way I could have beat him. But I think it was kind of a luck thing at the end, how I could kick him out of there. But he was unreal. He's an unreal player, but such a good game. What's your number 1?
My number 1 is Gap. It was by far my most played game this weekend. And then it was funny because I ended up playing it 5 times. I've shown it to my brother, and he's like, oh. And then we played other stuff. He's like, let's play that one again. So we brought it out and more people joined us. And then we played it in the morning with after Tinner's Trail. We played a quick round of that with Andy and Murray, and it went over well. And then when I was playing Ark Nova, Andy came over and he's like, "Could I borrow that game?" And then he took it and then went and played it somewhere else. And then at the end of the day, I was like, "Okay, well, we did a big 6-player game of Gap, and it's just so neat. Like, because you've got the different suit, and there's all the different colors, and you'll pull some out and add some depending on the number of players. So you have less card in a 3-player game than you would in a full 6-player game. And then you have the 4 cards in the middle and you have the cards in your hand. And if you play a card, if you have matching numbers in the middle, you're going to collect all of that. If there's no matching numbers, then you're going to collect 1 higher, 1 lower. So if I have a 3, then I would collect a 2 and a 4. Now, if there's 2, 4 for some reason, I have to pick which 4 I want to get. And then if I play a card and there's no matching numbers and there's no 1 above, 1 below, then it just gets added to the market. And you're doing that, collecting these games, and then at the end you take whatever you have the most of, and then if there's a tie, you tally up the ties minus by whatever you have the least of. So, and as you play, at first you have a little bit more control, but then as you get less and less cards, like it's kind of like you're at the mercy of what's there, and you lose the control. So you try to get yourself as set up as best you can at first, so you're not destroying everything at the end. But yeah, it was just such a neat, satisfying game, and by far my most played game this weekend. So that's my number 1, Gap.
Awesome. Yeah, it was such a good weekend. Always fun. Always, the conventions are fun. I have such a blast. When I was driving there on Saturday, I'm like, I still have an hour. Like, it was just like a kid, like, just so excited to get there and get the games going. It's
funny because we got the group chats going like the day before. I was like, "Happy FallCon Eve!" And I was like, we'd been going at it, like we definitely prepped it up, so everybody's so excited,
hyped up. And so Friday, I'm the only one not there, so I'm like, send me pictures. I want to pretend I'm there. And then people were all involved in their games. I'm like, what are you playing? What are you playing next? Send it. I had to get my fill of what you guys were all doing.
Exactly. Oh, for sure. That'd be tough not to be the one not there. Yeah, it's like, and then Travis, the same thing. I think it was like Saturday, he started texting us, "What are you guys doing? Like, show me what you're doing."
Oh yeah, it's always fun. Such great people.
Yeah, honestly,
nice to meet new people and play with new people.
Yeah. And then, like, here's the thing: you'll meet new people, you play with new people, but then this is also the event where we see all of like the gamer friends that we kind of meet again and again from across Alberta. Because it's like, well, I haven't seen Greg as well because he lives in Lethbridge. Like, so to be able to finally kind of connect again, it's so neat. It's such a fun event. And then I barely played with you guys because on Saturday, I played the one game with like our group, because I'm playing with I played with Darren and Michael and Brent, and then I went and played with Dave, and then I'm like I'm hopping from group of people to group of people, and then some. So he's like, Melanie, he's like, do you want to join us? I can't. I promise I would go play Gap. And then he's like, but we haven't played. I was like, there's a lot of people I haven't not been able to play with. No, it's a great event. So fun. So. Yeah, I've took a ton of pictures. I've posted a ton of pictures, so be sure to check that out on the Facebook page. Next podcast, we're going to be doing our top 9 games from games that were released in 2022, because we've probably played enough now. And I've added a few this weekend as well, so I've got a better list to pick from. And then before we call it quits now, Carla, where can we find you?
Before that, I just wanted to say to Amy, she was one of the head people at FallCon, right?
Oh, she's amazing.
We didn't get to play with her, but wow, she did a fabulous job. The whole crew did awesome. It was run just perfectly. Good job. And I want to say to Kayla, if you're not having a good day, I have one word for you: thumble. She'll know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. But if you want to reach me, I am at an Instagram at boardgamespecialist, all one word, and have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
So I am on Facebook. My Facebook page is Mal's Board Game Room. On Instagram, it's Mal's _boardgame_room. And then my YouTube channel is Mal's Board Game Room. So be sure to check all of those for all of our FallCon pictures. We'll be posting that there. And then, as I said, I'll be doing like a unboxing, I guess, of my board game haul of all the 17 games I got this weekend. So that'll be on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. I have one more thing to say. I am hosting another retreat at the restaurant October 14th, 15th. So by the time this drops, it'll only be a month away. You're invited, listeners. If you can make it to Red Deer, you need to contact me probably through Instagram or my Facebook page, not my personal one, but it's $100 for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 5 Saturday, 9 to midnight Saturday. Sunday it'll be 9 to 5. There'll be some hosted games, there'll be open table games, there'll be some prizes, all kinds of things, and it'll include your 2 lunches and a supper and then some snacks. So for $100, you're going to get your food. You're welcome to bring a few snacks if you want, but you don't have to plan all those meals, which is, people just love that. And it's going to be a fun time. I'm capping it at around 30 people, already a third of the way full. So if you want to come, get registered, get paid, and you can start signing up for some games. We had such a blast last time.
We had so much. And the food was amazing. Oh my God, the food was so good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a good time. I'm going to keep trying to do this, but that's going to be in October. So,
perfect.
And until next time, bye for now, and thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.